Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and welcome to another deck profile. If you're liking this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. Now, apologies there was no video on Monday. I had a bit of an editing issue. I was basically halfway through editing a match on Sunday night. We actually managed to film some matches last week. But annoyingly, there was a really big rules kerfuffle, which may inspire a new series from us, which is going to mean we're going to need to get some brain power going to understand the ever complex rules of this lovely game we play. And on top of that, there was also a point where we kind of went through some mechanics a little bit too quickly and we forgot to do a security check. So I had one more security than I should have had. So I just thought, screw it, I'm halfway through editing this. I'm not gonna continue because I'm wasting my time. And then I saw what the time was, and it was like quite late, and it was like the school run in the morning and stuff like that. And yeah, I just did not have time to edit and film something else. So instead, we're doing some BT22 deck profiles because BT22 is just around the corner, coming out next week. And the first one we're going to look at is Diaboromon. I am testing quite a few different BT22 lists. I'm probably going to do a updated Omnimon profile. I think probably end of this week because I'm happier with that build now. Because I was testing it and I was like, I really miss all my EX9 tricks, and I've managed to work in some of those EX9 tricks into the BT22 version of the build, just to kind of, so it's got a bit more variety to it. But one that was very natural right from the off was Diaboromon. Basically, Diaboromon has become the black version of puppets in the fact that it goes mega wide and it can protect itself now. So we've got possibly one stonker of a deck and could really put in some work. There will probably be people that will end up taking this more optimally than I do. I mean, I found a lot that the general ideas I end up coming up for deck profiles, I end up finding a topping result of the same deck, but it's evolved. I'm not saying obviously that people are directly taking inspiration from my lists. If they are, awesome, but I wouldn't want to assume that. There are definitely people that will think things outside of the box that I'm thinking from. Like I'm in a little box, this box, and then I'm thinking outside of that box, but then someone else is thinking outside of the box that contains my box, if that makes sense. But Diaboromon seems fairly natural, so let's get into the profile. Stop my random analogies. Anyways, first we've got the egg, which is the Tsumemon. Really, really simple. Just when any of your Diaboromon, Digimon with the unidentified or CS trait are played, you draw one card, so just gets you a little bit more net draw. We've got a lot of drawing in this deck. It can really, fill its hand up quickly, which, now we're no longer in like a Mirage-centered meta. More decks don't worry about having to fill up their hand now, so we're pretty cool with that. Speaking of draw power, we've got the BT2 Keramon. We've got a couple of the old kind of tricks in this, just because the new Diaboromon is guaranteed the first turn it comes out to give you 2 tokens, and the BT2 stuff is not once per turn. So the Keramon is completely a vanilla. Got 3 copies of this, but its inheritable effect essentially allows you to draw when you would play a Digimon with the same name as the Digimon that it's in the stack of. So essentially, if your Diaboromon plays out a Diaboromon token, you get a draw. So if you're playing out 2 tokens, you get 2 draws, and 3 draws, and 4 draws, and 5 draws, and however many Diaboromon tokens you're building. So it's really, really good. Then I've gone with the BT5 Keramon for the searcher, or for one of our searchers. Annoyingly, the EX6 one can be used, but it's not really that great. If we take a look at it, so I'm just going to type in Keramon. And apologies if I'm kind of T-Rexing my keyboard. I need to improve the setup. Since I moved around stuff in the bedroom, I need to improve the setup and or film more in my studio garage. Anyways, on to EX6 Keramon. So if we take a look at EX6 Keramon, the search of this one is reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Tamer card or option with Diaboromon in its text and 1 card with the unidentified trait among them to the hand, and then trash the rest. The issue with this is this cannot search your new Arata because this does not have unidentified in its trait. And for some dumb reason, this card does not mention Diaboromon once. It mentions unidentified, and that's in its text, but it does not have the unidentified trait. It's got the CS text. So this Keramon cannot search out the new Arata, whereas the old one, the BT5 one, can. So the BT5 one reveals 5 for starters, which is great. Adds 1 Digimon with the unidentified trait. On the actual card it says in its type, because of, you know, older kind of terminologies, and 1 Arata Sanada. So it would just add a Arata Sanada for you, which is great because now we've got 2 Aratas. So, you know, finally after 17 sets, 17 sets, we finally got another Arata. But yeah, that's what he's in there for. And then we've got the new Keramon, the BT2 one. This one reveals the top 3 cards of your deck, adds 1 Arata Sanada and 1 card with the unidentified or CS trait. So basically just does the same job as the BT5 one, except for it only reveals 3. But it does also have an inheritable effect, which is when this Digimon with Diaboromon in its text would leave the battle area by deleting one of your other Diaboromon, it doesn't leave. So essentially that means if you would leave by basically anything other than DP reduction, you're going to be surviving so long as you delete your Diaboromon. So battle, deletion, bouncing, whatever, doesn't matter. You delete a Diaboromon, your Diaboromon will stay around. So it's really, really cool. Does only protect the Diaboromon, so it will not protect stuff like your Infermon, but you're going to be getting into your Diaboromon stuff so quickly it really doesn't matter. Then going into our champions, so we've got the 3 copies of Kurisarimon from BT2. Again, just like the BT2 Keramon, this one does not have a once per turn inheritable, but instead of drawing, it gains you memory. So for each token you get, you gain a memory. So I just thought this was too important to not have because of the fact we are so turboing tokens now. You know, it's great. And then we've got the Kurisarimon, and this one and our next Kurisarimon do kind of fulfill similar roles, but they have different inheritables, which is why they're both important. This one just lets you play out an Arata Sanada if you don't have one. So if you already have one, you're out of luck. You won't be able to play it out. But the more important part of it is it gives rush to all of your Digimon with the same name as this Digimon. So if your Digimon's called Diaboromon, all of your Diaboromon tokens will gain rush. It's just good. It just helps you with swarming the board. It helps you with, you know, in that vein. It's, you know, this kind of has an advantage over puppets because if you've managed to generate enough of your tokens and you've got this in your inheritable, then essentially all of your tokens are going to get rush. Whereas I think you only can get the rush with the puppets if you've got the tamer out. So this is a much simpler way of giving rush to all of your stuff that you're playing out. Then we go on to the Kurisarimon from BT22. And this one, just if you've got 1 or fewer Arata Sanadas, you play out an Arata Sanada, so that's pretty cool. And then it also has the same inheritable as the Keramon from the set, giving you an additional layer of protection. So if you've got 2 tokens out and they try and delete you twice, you can survive both of those just by deleting those tokens. Then to round us off, I've got 1 copy of the EX6 Kurisarimon, and this is just in here to help us deal with floodgates. Something that can hurt this deck is kind of floodgate rookies. You know, stuff like you can't play Digimon by effects because that stops your token generation. You know, stuff like the memory game ones. You know, that sort of thing. So it's definitely going to help us in that regard. Super cheap to do so as well. You just delete a Diaboromon token, it reduces the cost by 3, or you digivolve into it for 2, whichever, and then it's got that on deletion inheritable. So if your stack does end up getting deleted, then at least you can play out a token and get an additional body out to kind of pseudo replace that. Then going into our level 5s, I've got 4 copies of the new Infermon from BT22. Obviously, one form of protection that our inheritables don't protect us from is DP reduction, but this Infermon has us covered. So it deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less for its on play and when digivolving. Then, if you have Arata Sanada or Eta Adam, which we won't because we're not playing any Eaters, your opponent's effects can't reduce this Digimon's DP or return it to hand or decks until their turn ends. So it gives us another form of protection. That DP reduction protection especially really important because we can basically survive anything we want. The only key way of removal, and I think it's going to be really important in this format coming up, is Digivolve. The only thing we can't protect ourselves in this deck is Digivolve effects. Digivolve, I think, is going to be really important, and we've definitely got some emphasis on that. I mean, this is a black deck. Black decks often have an easier time finding that Digivolve, but I find most of the decks I've been playing, like EX9 onwards, if you don't have Digivolve in some scenarios, you are just scuffed. you are absolutely scuffed. Like, if you're going up against puppets and you don't have de-digivolve to punish the Kuguya, then you're screwed, because if you try and delete it, if you try and bounce it, it's just gonna give you a bad time. The only kind of decks that de-digivolve won't really help you against is stuff like your your Royal Knights Adventure to an extent, that sort of thing. But a lot of the other decks, I think de-digivolve really punishes quite a lot. So, if this had de-digivolve protection, then this would be, nigh unstoppable. But it's the one kink in the armor, or kink in the chainmail. It's just a kink. Don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, speaking of I've forgotten this as well. The inheritable. Too much talking about kinks. The inheritable of this one is when any of your Digimon with the unidentified trait are deleted, you may play one Diaboromon token without paying the cost. So you just get, if any of your stuff is deleted, so say for example you use your inheritable to protect yourself, get another token back. It's like it never went. It's really cool. Then we've got 3 copies of the EX6 Infermon. On play when digivolving by deleting one of your Digimon with Diaboromon in its name. Without you can then digivolve into a Diaboromon in the hand without paying the cost. So this just helps you to go straight up into your Diaboromon free of charge. And really just helps you out with speeding up. Which is incredibly good, especially now one of our Diaboromons has got Alliance. Then going back to what we were talking about with the Digivolve, this one also has a when another of your Digimon with Diaboromon in its name is played, you then get to de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. We do also have access to the BT17 Infermon, which if I just type in Infermon, if I could do it correctly, that would be fantastic. There we go. Which is this one here. And this one lets you stun things for a turn, and also has that de-digivolve. So if you want to have more emphasis on the de-digivolve, try and put some copies of this in, I'd say. I was really tempted to put in a ratio of 4, 2, and then 2 for the for this guy, not for what I was just about to go. But I ultimately went with what I've got instead, which is Cyberdramon. Sorry, I can't. I've got my camera directly in front of the screen because I need to make sure I've got my crappy green screen thing behind me, which, I use to kind of cut the cuts and stuff like that. I have to have the camera at this specific angle so that I can do the cutout properly without having to use the smart cutout tool that takes ages to do its job. This I can just do as a chroma key with, and it will do the job. But the caveat to that is I have to have the camera directly in front of me, directly in front of my screen, which is really not helpful for reading or anything, really, other than the way the video looks. So I hope you guys appreciate it. Anyways, Cyberdramon Ace. I'm going to so many tangents there. It's because I'm knackered. When digivolving, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You may play one black Tamer card with a play cost of 4 or less among them without paying the cost. And both of our Tamers play are 4 cost or less. Then return the rest to the bottom of the top or bottom of the deck, so you can stack the deck if you so choose. Then, if you have a Tamer, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Also has the when attacking effect, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. So this one does have that de-digivolving kind of quota to it that this one does, whilst also helping us play out our Tamers, which is why I ultimately went with it instead of this one. Plus, it's another thing with a little bit of surprise factor as well. We want a couple of little surprises in this deck for being defensive. So if we've got a Kurisarimon just out, we can Cyberdramon Ace, play out a Tamer, or de-digivolve them if we've already got a Tamer out. Then going into our Diaboromons, the first one we're going to go into is the new one from BT22, and just saying it, we called it. It was in our predictions video, a Diaboromon with Alliance. Is the rest of the effect correct? No, but we got Alliance. Anyways, onto the Diaboromon. So, it has a when digivolving when attacking effect, so it's not once per turn. You may play one Diaboromon token without paying the cost, so you just play out 2 tokens when you go into this and when you attack with it. Has that Alliance as well, so you can just go, spend one of those tokens, and then off you go. Then all turns when any of your Digimon with the unidentified trait are played, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. Now that is once per turn, you don't get to do that twice, but that's still a really cool way of removal. In fact, basically Diaboromon BT22 acts almost identically to Diaboromon Ace, the promo. It's just got Alliance, which makes it better. Hence it's at 3. Then we've got the Diaboromon from EX6. Now this one is still your primary kind of board support boss monster, because this one gives jamming and blocker to all of your other Digimon with Diaboromon in their names. So all of your tokens will get jamming and blocker. In fact, I used to kind of use Beast Cyclone to give security attack +1 to all of the Diaboromon tokens. I remember seeing that in one of East's videos, and I was like, I am stealing that. That's really cool. And turns out it is, but I've got rid of it just because of space. You could put it back in potentially, but I think I went for more. I always try and go for more consistency than battle tricks. I think battle tricks are always fun, but consistency is always the more important thing for me. But yeah, this Diaboromon is fantastic. It does the start of main. When digivolving, you may play a Diaboromon token. So this one is kind of like this deck's Sendromon. The puppet comparisons just continue. We've got oh my god! I've literally just realised this. EX6 is a mixture of Sendromon and Kaguyamon because it gives a board-wide keyword thing to a lot of your Digimon and plays out a token at the start of every turn. And then this one is kind of like Kaguya because it's got Alliance specifically, which Kaguya gives to every... This one's more similar to the puppet stuff, is what I'm saying. But, you know, the comparisons continue. Anyways, Diaboromon Ace is also in here just to round off our level 6s, and this one plays out a token when digivolving, plays out a token when attacking, not once per turn, just like the BT22, and instead of deleting the lowest DP, what will happen when you play out a Diaboromon token is when an effect plays another Digimon, you may delete one of your opponent's play cost 3 or lower Digimon, and for each of your Diaboromon, including itself, it will add 2 to the maximum play cost. So the more Diaboromon tokens you've got, the bigger you could delete. So both of them have like specific ways in which their deletion will work. Sometimes there'll be situations where the Aces is better, and sometimes there'll be situations where the BT22 ones does perfectly fine. You know, so and the BT22 is definitely the more aggressive of the two cards. You know, you with that alliance. So, you know, take it out of what you will. We've also got one copy each of the BT17 Armageddemon. I almost said the new Armageddemon. It's not new at this point. It's just newer than this one, the BT5 one. Both of them have their place. The older one can do a little bit more battle control because it can attack unsuspended Digimon. It's got Rush, Reboot, and Blocker, so it can attack the turn it's played out, and it does play out because essentially what you do is you can return up to 13 cards of the unidentified trait from your trash, or with Diaboromon in their text, you know, to the bottom of the deck, and then you reduce the play cost by 1 for each one. So if you do the full 13, you're playing it out for 3 cost. Also then deletes up to 15 play cost total worth of your opponent's Digimon with the on play when digivolving, so that's pretty good. The when digivolving is very costly though. It costs 7, which is where sometimes the older one can be better. This one guarantees that it will reduce itself down by 12 so long as you're deleting a Diaboromon, which you generate so many tokens. This one does really well. This one also has Rush, and has all turns, the when digivolving effects on level 7 Digimon don't activate. So essentially, this can stop level 7 aces. So stuff like an Oryukin, or let's say you're in the Royal Knights matchup. You know, you've got this out, and they try and Omecamon you. Oh no, Omnimon X can't use its effects now. Whatever am I to do? So I'm really tempted to actually bump this one up to 2. And put this one down to none, because I tend to find, honestly, the older one can be a lot better, especially because this deck kind of uses the Armageddemons as win more cards and kind of, in a sense, board control cards, and its real win condition is the Diaboromons. So I'd be very tempted to bump this up to 2 specifically for the for the Royal Knight matchup, genuinely. As well as also Omnimon, which is why a little stutter there. You know, Omnimon has a lot of really cool stuff with the Omnimon Alter S. It would shut off that. Yeah, genuinely, I might do that. I've never done this before. A live deck profile change. I'm putting it up to 2. Untested. Dangerous. But I think that's possibly better. 2 of that will do nicely. Then going on to our Tamers, we've got the Arata Sanada from BT5, still the GOAT. Gives you 1 memory at the start of your turn if you've got an identified in the trash. And then when one of your Diaboromon digivolves, you can then play out a token, so you're just getting more and more tokens, more and more draws, more and more memory. Really nice. And then we've got the new one, who I do not want to bump up to 3, here's at 2. Gives you a memory setter, so you're no longer having to play, what is it, fucking BT3 Izzy? The one that has been played in like Diaboromon decks since like forever. We've now actually got an in archetype memory setup, which is fantastic. And what he does is opponent's turn, when which is ironic actually, because this replaces an Izzy and it kind of acts like another Izzy, which is kind of funny. When one of your opponent's Digimon attacks, by suspending this tamer, change the attack target to one of your Digimon with the unidentified or CS trait. So just go redirect, bosh, my token's died, replace it with the Infermon, you know, de-digivolve stuff, do the things, delete stuff. So this is pretty good. It does also have an inheritable effect, but because we're not playing the Eater stuff, I'm not going to bother going through it. At some point, we might do an Eater profile. I'm not planning on building it myself, but I believe Charles is looking to build it because he is becoming our token. I'm the one that has all the 50 copy decks. So, you know, let us know if you want me to poke him with a stick, and I'll see if he can provide a profile for us. Then we go on to the other cards of the deck. I've got one copy of Catastrophe Cannon. Again, it's got more de-digivolve stuff, so that de-digivolve 2 lets us play out a token, so it just helps us with board presence and also controlling the board. We've got 2 black scrambles, which honestly, I mainly did this because it's got the Keramon alt art, I'm not going to lie. But this one will let you go into something for a reduced cost of 3, so you're basically digivolving for 2 instead, because you have to use this for 2. And then obviously you get to do the whole delay. I get to put a thing on top of the deck and play a thing out of the trash, and then boom. I don't know why I said that to a slight melody, but yeah, it's great, and also lets you play out a 2000 DP Digimon from your trash with the security effect, and then you add it to your hand. And then we've got defense training, just to round things off. Pretty much everything other than Armageddemon BT5 is black, so we can search basically everything in the deck with this, reduce the Digivolution costs and all of that. But I've been rambling for a while. There is no gameplay for this one, guys, just because of the fact that I don't have any footage of this, and I need to see if I can download the early access client for DCGO, because I've not bothered to do that yet. I don't even know if it's still available. But I should probably give that a go. I don't know if I will for definite. I think I'm okay with waiting until they're out, especially because I have printed out proxies for all my cards. So I kind of need to, you know, make it up to the trees and use the proxies. But yeah, that is the deck profile, guys. Let me know what you guys think. You know, are there any sort of, you know, hardcore Diaboromon players that look at this and think it's utter trash? Are you excited by this? Are you excited by playing Diaboromon in general? Is now the time for Diaboromon to make a comeback? I think it could have a few really good anti-meta matchups, you know, especially if you've got stuff like the Armageddemon from BT5, you know, shutting off the Royal Knights, shutting off Omnimon. You know, there's a lot of potential, I think, in Diaboromon now. There's always has been, bubbling down below, and now, maybe now is the time. We said it back in EX6 that now would be the time for Diaboromon, and we were wrong. But maybe we're not wrong this time. Maybe we're thinking Diaboromon is gonna absolutely go for it now. So yeah, let me know if you guys are excited and what other sort of BT22 stuff you guys want to see. Like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and we'll see you again on the next video. But until then, keep it digital.